The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber. So I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten-free, and HSA, FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at gruns.co. That's code podcast at gruns.co.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dawn Mitchell, and welcome to Dawn of Sports. In this edition, Jim Souhan and I, not only do we talk to Mike Tirico, he says he's going to take a word back. He made a mistake. We'll tell you exactly what word that is. You probably already know, but we'll hear from Mike Tirico and also his Tay-Tay Sunday night game that people are still chatting about. We'll go through Justin Jefferson. We talk women in sports, of course, and we'll give you my DMs. The nice DM I finally received. That's coming up right now.
Welcome back to Dawn of Sports, starring Dawn Mitchell from Fox 9. This week's guest, Mike Tirico. We've had great guests. We've already had Mark Rosen, Jim Cott, Chad Greenway. Mike Tirico is going to be a blast. Of course, Mike and Dawn are friends from way back. These are all Dawn's friends. She's bringing them in to tell great stories and origin stories. This is part of TalkNorth.com. Thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, subscribe to your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's the easiest way to listen. Thanks to our sponsors, Rudy Luther Toyota and All Energy Solar, allenergysolar.com. And let's start with Take It From Us. It's amazing, Dawn, that we are in mid-October.
Yeah.
And it feels like the Twins are just getting started, and it feels like it's over for the Vikings. How did this happen?
I know. It's like it just flipped on a dime,
yes.
right? First of all, let's go with the Twins. I'm just so excited for them. And I'm saying this as a journalist and a person.
Sure.
Although I took offense, being from Boston, that people were calling their playoff streak a curse. It's not a curse. It was a drought. Okay, I'll give it. It was like an 18-game drought. But maybe the Vikings have the curse. I don't know. And I think maybe you get a curse, you name it, and then you get rid of it. But the Twins weren't cursed. If you have 2 world championships, dating back to the late 80s, so that's not a curse. That's just a drought. So with that said, I just love this team. I think that they're fun, and I think they're coming together right at the right time. And Jim, you and I have covered sports for a long time. You can see a team that's power-packed, has the chemistry, has the character, and then they fall apart. So the fact that they're just gaining steam and they seem to still be having fun, like they didn't lose that, has been great for me to watch. The pitching, the hitting. They haven't, done any errors or bad mistakes. We've been watching the Vikings kind of throw things away and fumble things away. So the fact that even covering it, we are the home of the Vikings, Twins, but just even the coverage to see where all of a sudden it's like there's more and more Twins. And there's a little bit less of the Vikings during the week. I think it's about time because the Twins have just been held down for so long. So I've been enjoying it.
Yes, and for context, we're recording this before Game 3 on Tuesday, so we don't know what happens in Game 3. We don't know where this is set up. But it's remarkable. And I felt like I spent the entire Twins season. I mean, I would go play in charity golf tournaments. I'd see people out in bars and restaurants, and everybody's like, God, the Twins suck, and they got to get rid of Rocco. And I'm like, okay, listen, they have pitching.
Yeah.
And because they have pitching, if they can just start scoring like half a run a game more, maybe 1 run a game more, then all these things are going to fall into place. And they're going to be set up to win a division and have their starting pitching set up for the postseason and have 2 dynamic starters at the top of the rotation for the first time since maybe ever.
Right.
The doom and gloom was so Minnesotan.
Yeah.
It was so, okay, we lost 18 in a row, therefore you can't win again, therefore everything's going to be terrible. And I was like, you got to see this. The pitching staff is set up for success. And all of a sudden, after the All-Star break, they bring up Lewis, they bring up Julian, they bring up Wallner, Kepler gets it going, and they started becoming one of the better offensive teams in baseball rather than one of the worst. It was all trending toward this, and now we're seeing the fruits of it. And something you pointed out, this is a very likable group.
Yeah.
I loved the early 2000 Twins teams. They were just a bunch of characters. Later 2000 Twins teams, Morneau aside, because Morneau was always fantastic, there were a lot of people on that team I did not like. There were a lot of people the organization didn't like.
They always spoke highly of you, Jim.
No, they
That's
didn't.
what my mom would say if I said I didn't like someone.
There
Don,
were some bad actors and bad characters on those teams, and I didn't hide it,
Right.
This is different. Correa is a class act. Royce Lewis is
one of the nicest guys
one of the
ever.
greatest people you're ever going to meet. Pablo Lopez is one of the best people you're ever going to meet. Falvey's fantastic. Rocco's fantastic. The organization cares about people. They treat people well. They're accessible. It's really fun to see an organization with this mentality have some success.
It's also fun to see their long-term vision come to fruition. Okay, so many people saying you overpaid for Correa, no other team wanted him, he was injured, blah blah blah, and now you see it down the stretch, right? You're paying for that wisdom, for that defense, for that leadership. I mean, where else in baseball do you see whenever it goes to the pitcher's mound and it's like a it's a kumbaya, it's definitely campfire, and Correa's in there, and that play. I mean, there's so many defensive gems that he's pulled, but you just say, this is why they got that guy.
Yep.
This is why they traded away Luis Ariz to get Pablo Lopez. This is why, and it's almost like people are going, oh, when you get new management in, it takes a while for their vision to take root and to blossom. And you have to have everything go your way. You have to have injuries go your way. You have to have hitting. The interesting thing I talked to them about when we were interviewing them last week, and this was before they were going to the ALDS, before they left for Houston, and they were talking about that losing streak. And this is where Minnesotans get down, they can't score a run, or we're losing, and rightfully so. But the good teams learn from that. And that's where they really started bonding. I know it's us against the world kind of thing, but they didn't take the bitterness. They were just like, we know what we have in this club. We just have to start getting a couple more timely hits. We just have to da-da-da-da. So they learned from their mistakes, and we're seeing it now. And I'm not going to say who it was. This is a former Twin. Not going to, because did not want this publicly, so I'm not going to out who said this. They said, if they sweep the wild card, they can win this whole thing. And I absolutely agree. If they play their game, and we know they swept the wild cards, now I'm like, okay, let's see if they can win the whole thing. I mean, I think now they're seeing how it's laid out in front of them.
Yes. And then there's the other side of the coin, which is the Vikings. I had optimism. This is going to be a good team, and I can't believe how many things have gone wrong already. And we're talking here on the afternoon of the morning that Justin Jefferson is headed to the injured reserve. They're 1-4. They're playing a Bears team in Chicago. They never play well in Chicago. The Bears are actually playing better now. You have the 49ers following that. We've gone from me saying, hey, you can't throw the season away after 3 games to, oh my God, it might be over very quickly here.
I was coming into this week, especially when you have the 49ers after that on the horizon, you've got the Chiefs and the 49ers. You have to split those. And people are, they're going to get blown out by the Chiefs. But the Chiefs, that was a winnable game even before they hit the field, because you saw they have some foibles there. If they can exploit their tackles on offense, and make Mahomes do everything. And we saw that come to life. And once again, when the game started with another turnover, I could feel that collective Minnesota, like, oh, here we go again. They brought themselves out. But you bring that up. When I saw Justin Jefferson in the locker room after the game, and O'Connell went over to him, puts his arm around him, and, we couldn't hear what they were saying. Justin didn't even look at him, and he wasn't mad at him. He was just upset, and he's looking straight ahead. And all I can think in my mind is, I hope he wants to re-sign an extension here. That's what my inner voice said, and it's not that he's against the Vikings. It's just all the talent that's in the room, all the almosts that have happened so far, and knowing that they could have won these games. And it's more than just, oh, we had those games last year and we just came out on the other end. It's different. It's some of these mistakes, some of the clock management, some of the play calls. You're like, this is so different from last year.
Yes, and you're bringing up a good point here, because teams have bad seasons, but we're looking at more than that here. We're looking at maybe having to transition to a new quarterback, which is risky, and we're talking about not getting the Jefferson deal done, then starting the year badly, then having Jefferson get hurt.
Yes.
And Jefferson's a competitor. He's been a class act throughout his time here. But what if this team is like, 1-8, 2-7 when he's eligible to come back? I mean, how much is he going to put himself at risk for a team that doesn't have anything to play for and that hasn't signed him to a long-term contract?
Right.
And then how do the negotiations go from there? There are so many devastating scenarios in play now that I don't think were in play just a week ago.
And he's the kind of guy, they had to hold him off the field.
Yep.
O'Connell was like, he wanted to go back in. We have to protect him from himself. And he loves it here. But if you think long term, they also have to think of it as a business. People are seeing what the other side of it is. Like, yes, they are a much better team. And I'm not just saying on paper, talent-wise, than what their record indicates. Last year, they were not as good as what their record indicates. But it really sucks to be on the other side of that.
Yeah.
Fans, players, and management and everyone. Again, we talk about good people, right? Good people all the way through. People say, oh, how was it to go in that locker room? Are they awful? I said, no.
No, they're fine.
They're not. I said, they're class acts. They talk to you. They answer you honestly. It is not, I've been in locker rooms in the past where you're like, well, I've been through all of them where you go in there, you ask a question, and this is in the past. They're hitting their helmets against when it was the metal lockers, and you're like, you're dodging, right? Or they're yelling at each other. I've been in other locker rooms where you walk in and they just got blown out and they're laughing. And I'm like, what?
That's not good either.
Yeah, what's going on? This isn't it. You could tell they care. They're still respectful to us, and they're self-inflicted wounds.
Yep.
And when it's funny because I asked Marcus Davenport yesterday, I said, is it harder with these almosts? And he goes, these questions are silly. I mean, yeah, of course we don't want to be almost. I said, no, I guess you're missing my point. My point is, when you know that you're talented, when you know that you guys can win this, is that harder? And he's like, oh, yeah. It is, because sometimes you're on a rebuilding team and you're outperforming. But when you know that you could have done that, that hurts worse.
Blowouts are actually easier to process because there wasn't that one moment you can second guess.
Yes.
You get beat badly, or if you're just not good enough, then you just shrug. But when you are good enough and you don't perform, there's a lot of guilt.
Right. Even when Kirk Cousins, the game before, was talking about his 2 picks, there's one you can just throw off, like, okay. And it was the uglier one that is easier for him to process, the pick 6 all the way back. Like, but it's that one is the one that frustrated him more. The other one where it's like just a competitive situation and they pick him off, that's fine. Sometimes you just have to. But gosh, someone said to me, when you go in these locker rooms, if they keep losing, how do you handle that? How did you handle their 3-win season? I said the hardest thing is trying to tell the story the same way and differently.
That's the challenge, is how do you tell the same story over and over when it doesn't really change? And how do you bring life to it? But of course, that's also what we're paid to do. Right.
And how do you respectfully ask that question again to a player who doesn't want to be like, really? You asked me that like for the past eight weeks? And you don't want to say, well, because the same thing's happening. Yeah. You just have to, and I think the players, they get it. They respect what you do. At least the guys on this team this year. I mean, in the past, maybe they might have, but all these guys they're in a situation in the world now where they're on social media. They get the reality of the situation, and they understand our job and we understand their job. But we're only in October.
I know. My God. And on that note, let's get to something really more important to this show, which is let's talk about women's sports.
Yes.
Women in sports. We're going to talk about women in sports every week on this show. We're also going to start bringing in some women guests because we want to promote
really
women's
looking forward to
sports.
that.
And, it just so happens that our early guests have been men, but we do have a lot of great women guests lined up as we go into this. So what do you have for us today in the world of women's sports?
One thing I wanted to point out, and because I think a lot of people were like, oh, I didn't know Minnesota United had a woman CEO. And some people are like, even women, and her name, of course, Sherry Ballard, CEO of Minnesota United. And of course, the first time we really see her face plastered in the news is when she has to make that announcement that they're letting go of Adrian Heath, very first head coach in the history of MLS here in Minnesota. And it wasn't just a knee-jerk reaction, after they were losing, I forget even how many games, but it was one of those things where it kept going. So my question is, just because she's a woman doesn't make it any different. That's a hard call to make.
Yep.
Do you agree with it or disagree with it? And for me, I'm like, what's 2 more games? Okay, so people just automatically assume that I would be like, well, it's a woman. Yes, let's back her decision. I don't envy her decision to have to do that. But maybe I'm not savvy enough to know with all the different seasons when it comes to, I know they have the MLS season, then they've got this other season, then they have their cup seasons, why pull the trigger now and not let him finish out respectfully the season?
I think because there was still a mathematical chance of rallying this team and getting them into the playoffs, and they felt like, and listen, I'm not a soccer insider, but having been around a million firings, I think sometimes you get to a point where the mood is so bad, you just have to do something different.
And then they won, right? Like 5-something the next game. So
these are not scientific events. These are not like somebody pulling out a supercomputer and saying, well, let's figure out exactly the perfect formula for when you fire somebody. So often it's mood. And Adrian, I would neither say that I'm not going to say he deserved to be fired. I'm not close enough to it to have the information on that. I'll just say that they gave him a good long run, and things were not trending well, and they felt like they still had a chance to salvage the season. And, I get why they did it. Let's put it that way. I understand why they made the move now.
Yeah, okay. I get why they did it. I just questioned the timing.
Yeah.
Because when I hear mathematically alive,
I know.
I don't. But hey, it also shows that's how they're thinking. They want to make it.
Yeah.
So you got to like it from that point of view. And I like the fact that woman was standing up and she's making that decision. She's taking the heat and getting, I loved all of that.
The other thing is that this does give you a chance to look at the interim and how he handles the pressure.
Sean McCauley, yes.
Actually standing in that role, and you don't get another chance at that.
Right. And so what's intriguing to me is, so they have one more game left. It's not the fact that they came back that next day and won in like a hockey score. Usually it's 1-0. What I want to see is the next one, because sometimes a team rallies because they're like, you're put on notice. Mm-hmm. I mean, you cut off the head, right? The rest of the chicken's running around, right? So you're usually put on notice and like, okay, playing for jobs, you're playing for whatever. Or is it, okay, now this is Sean's time. This is Sean's time, and they're rallying behind him, and he does a really good job, which I've heard he does anyway. It's always tough to be in those situations because you know that you're friends with the guy who you've been with this whole time. So
it's also what they sign up for, though.
Yes.
It's not pretty. It's an ugly part of the business, but it's inevitable. Mm-hmm. These are not lifetime appointments, so the organization has to do what's best for the organization at some point.
And it's not the only change that's been made in the organization either, and no. I don't know if it's going to be the last of them either. Right. So
yes.
So we'll have to do it. Also, when it comes to women's sports, the WNBA finals, and so it's tomorrow. They're in Vegas. The Aces have a 1-0 lead. I always mess up her name. Betnijah? No. Betnijah. Okay. I always mess that up, so I call her Bets.
Let's do that.
Bets Laney. Hey, we're in sports. It's just nicknames. So Bets Laney has been lights out. And I don't know if you've been following it, but what I have noticed on social media, and my friend Van Shea Murdoch, who works with me, I'm calling him out because I love him. He is a huge supporter of the WNBA. He works with me at Fox 9. He's an awesome photographer. And I love that he went on social media and put WNBA finals greater than NFL. greater than Vikings, and I loved to see that. I love to see the male support behind it, but it's true. It's like, this is a powerhouse kind of situation. And by the way, if you know Van Shea, he'll just rip off everybody's like roster. He is amazing. I worked the NCAA finals and the Final Four and stuff with him. So great. But for me to see that people were switching off their TVs, granted, maybe not en masse, to put on the WNBA finals, it's just furthermore, if you see it, you can be it. If you see it on TV, you can switch the channel to it. I liked that. Would I like to see like the links in there a little bit more? Yes. But I mean, people are going to change if they don't like what they're seeing on their televisions. And I know that more than anyone else when it comes to TV. But anyway, WNBA Finals, Liberty Aces, I think it's gonna go down. It's gonna be a battle.
Well, it's spectacular.
Yes.
I mean, it's Aja Wilson against Brianna Stewart, maybe the two best players in the world. It's the Aces with a chance to really build a dynasty here. Mm-hmm. And if the New York Liberty can go out and have Ionescu and go out and get Brianna Stewart, the number one free agent in WNBA history, and they can get Vandersloot, who the Lynx always wanted, and still not be good enough to beat the Aces. And the Aces are set up for a long run here. I have friends that live in Vegas, and they went to an Aces game this year, and they were like, what a spectacle. What a great show it is.
Yes.
So, listen, we would like the Lynx to be back in the battle for championships. That would be a blast. It's a great product. Lynx fan base is great. We have undying respect for Cheryl Reeve and everything they've built over there. But the mountain is so high right now. The Aces are phenomenal.
The Aces are what the Lynx were. I think for many years, people are like,
yes.
Oh my God, look at the Lynx. They're stacked for years to come. Mm-hmm. So it can shift on a dime. But injuries also can affect that. But I'm enjoying it right now. It's always like, I got to catch up on what happened, because right now for us, there's so much going on in the Twin Cities with the Twins and the Vikings and, Wild starting up and Timberwolves starting up. Sometimes your head is spinning. Then I'm like, wait a minute, WNBA finals are on. So,
and I'll say this, you and I had the exchange off the air too, talking about it. Is there enough bandwidth for WNBA? Here's the thing: there's always room. It's like ice cream. There's always room for more sports. There's always room for ice cream at the end of the meal. It'll find its way in there between the turkey and the giblets and everything else. People watch 8 NFL games a week. People who like baseball will watch 12 baseball games a week. There's always room. It's just a matter of recognizing that this is great entertainment. These are great athletes, and it's worth your time.
Yeah, I guess sometimes for me, and this is not the point counterpoint or agree to disagree. Sometimes for me, I always think this is kind of like the really cruddy timing. It's like they start in the summer when everyone's taking their trips and they're doing that, and then all of a sudden, right when it gets to the playoffs and the finals, it's right when kids are going back to school, college football starting up. I feel like if it was given a little more. Not that there's a huge breathing space anywhere else, right? And they certainly don't want the NBA and the WNBA to be coexisting, because, especially when the teams own both, I just wish there was a sweeter spot in terms of how we live our life that the WNBA could be in.
Well, you're actually making a really good point here, because I think the fact that the WNBA plays during the summer when there's not much competition other than Major League Baseball, and they might be slightly different audiences, plays fairly well for the WNBA. But this time of year is brutal.
Yes.
College football, the NFL, postseason baseball, starting up hockey and basketball, it is brutal. It's brutal competition. So I think, in our business, we think, okay, when are the hot spots? When are the dead times?
Yeah.
February is a dead time in sports. It's all just process. It's just people in the middle of their long seasons. None of the games mean that much. Mm-hmm. I wonder if the WNBA started in February, when there's really not much else going on, and then concluded in maybe May, when there's absolutely nothing else going on.
Correct.
And had their championship late May, June. That might be the perfect timing.
Yes. So that's what I was thinking. I'm like, the timing is just terrible. The product is fantastic. Yep. the schedule and the timing is terrible. And I said, now there's people that pay scale is a lot higher than mine. And those people that I say created Google Docs and Google Calendar, like their brains just operate differently than mine. I don't know who comes up with these schedules, but I always say, God, it's just, I love WNBA. I love basketball. I love the NBA too. But when it's in my check down brain of like, and like, oh yes, the WNBA is lower only because of what I do for work. You have to like, all right, what am I doing today? You're going to have that tight fan base that love it no matter what, that's going to show up no matter what. But if you want to pull from everywhere else, I think it's a huge topic.
I agree. No, that's a good point. All right, we're going to get to Mike Tirico after we do DMs.
Oh, I've got a good one.
And to explain, that is Don Mitchell's direct messages.
Don Mitchell's direct messages. Now, the last time we did this, it was that guy that said, if he was the king of the giraffes. Okay. So this one is a little differently, and I want to preface this by saying it might be weird, but it's not weird in my book because I said the same thing to Jordan Hicks recently. And so when I saw someone send this in my DMs who did not know what I said to Jordan Hicks, I was like, oh, so this is a thing. I'm not weird, but you can decide. This guy said, I want Dawn at Fox 9 to voice my GPS. Her voice is amazing when listening to her on the newscast.
Oh, well, that's not creepy at all. That's actually
not.
Okay.
And I'm like,
I thought these were going to be all creepy, so
no.
I guess I'm relieved.
Most of them are creepy. Some of them I don't even want to say because then I'll have nightmares.
Yes, please don't.
Those will stay. But I was like, well, that's nice because I said to Jordan Hicks, I go, this sounds weird, but I would love your voice for my GPS.
Okay, I can get down with that.
He's always mellow. He's got a good voice. I'm like broadcasting voice, this and that. And he's like, yeah. I go, oh, yeah. Because if I were in traffic and I was all hectic and I had to get over from the right lane to the far left, I go, hey, Jordan Hicks, if he's giving me those directions, I'm going to just smooth glide all the way over.
Absolutely.
So now.
The quiet storm.
Yeah. So I won't out who said that to me, but thank you very much.
That's pretty good.
I could probably get paid sweet money for that, right?
I think the sky.
Don't go in that lane, dude.
No doubt.
That's a slow lane. Yeah, there you go.
All right, up next is Don's conversation with Mike Tirico. First, want to let you know that we appreciate our sponsors who make all this possible. If you would like to sponsor Dawn of Sports, you can reach our sales executive, Karen Cleary, at KCLEARY@talknorth.com. Thanks to Rudy, I always have trouble saying it. Thanks to Rudy Luther Toyota.
Ready for a women-forward car dealership? Rudy Luther Toyota empowers their many women on staff in sales, management, and service. Whether you are looking for a new Toyota or pre-owned vehicle, Rudy Luther Toyota has something for everyone. Every vehicle comes with a Luther Advantage. 10 cents off fuel and car wash discounts at holiday stations, Luther Advantage warranty, and 5-day return policy on pre-owned vehicles. Located just 5 minutes west of downtown Minneapolis, off 394 and General Mills Boulevard. And they're also hiring. Want to join the team but don't know where to start? Visit rudyluthertoyota.com today.
Also want to let you know that all energy solar panel installations are done right and made easy thanks to more than 14 years of experience in Minnesota and beyond. All Energy Solar is ready to take any solar project, home or business, from design to installation and everything in between. Find out more about going solar at allenergysolar.com, allenergysolar.com/coach.
Well, joining us now, a very good friend of mine, Mike Tirico. You know him from Sunday Night Football, as well as the Olympics, Triple Crown, Masters, Indy 500 hockey. I don't know, probably underwater bocce ball, too. Mike Tirico joining us from NBC. Mike, is there anything that you have not done that you want to do, announcing-wise?
Don and Jim, you were right. Your research is impeccable. I am the world-renowned #1 voice of international bocce ball. So
nice.
that does in fact complete my resume. No, it's great to be with you all. Honestly, if you want to start with a tough question right away or a big impact question right away, I really would say the only thing that I have not done professionally, and how blessed I am to do that, is call a Super Bowl, and hope to in a couple of years with our NBC group. But hosting the Super Bowl, pregame show, working the Kentucky Derby, the Indy 500, and the Olympics. Those were the things that were on my list of, boy, I hope I get a chance to do those during my career. And moving to NBC 8 years ago now, which is hard to believe,
Wow.
kind of checked all those boxes. So I've been lucky and blessed. It's been an amazing run. And you get to come to cities like Minneapolis and St. Paul, meet people over the years like you, Don, read people like Jim and his columns. And it's a really fun job because it's a people job, whether it's the athletes, the coaches, the athletic directors, the fellow journalists. It's a people job, and I just have a curiosity for meeting people in cool places. So what a fun ride it's been, and I'm loving every second of it.
I think, Mike, you told me a story about when you were doing the Olympics and then you had to, I don't know how you even got back to the States to get to a Super Bowl. What was that experience like? And how do you I can barely keep my brain settled on what sport I'm doing at the moment. How did you handle all that?
That was a run of a lifetime. You know what? In this world where we all take so many pictures with our phones, I look back at that run and I rue the days that I did not take more pictures of that. That was a once in a lifetime experience. So we went over to Beijing. It was during COVID still over there in China. So we were testing every day in the US, and we tested every day, not with a regular little saliva test or a nasal test. It was a throat swab every day that we were in Beijing at 5 a.m. Yeah, if you ever want a wake up call at 5 a.m., throat swab is not the way to go, folks. So we did that every day. We covered the opening ceremony where there was a lot of heavy politics going. Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin were standing next to each other about 20 yards over my shoulder during the opening ceremony. It was an odd, unique night. And then we covered the first part of the Olympics and went through all of that. And then we left after that first full week, headed back to the U.S. so we could be in the U.S. to host the Super Bowl in L.A. So we came back to Connecticut, hosted Tuesday through Thursday of the Olympics at our NBC studios there, out to LA, did Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It'll be the coolest day of my career ever. I can't imagine a cooler one. Got to host the Super Bowl pregame, halftime, Super Bowl postgame, do the trophy presentation with the Rams and Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay and all those guys, and then go right onto the field and host our primetime Olympic coverage, and then go outside of SoFi and wrap up the coverage. I think we went on at noon and off at 2 a.m. Eastern time, and it was just one of those insane days. Then we got back on the plane and we hosted the rest of the Olympics from Connecticut for that last week. So that was a time and a half, and without, as you know, both of you, your name may go first on a story that you're reporting, or Jim on a column, but without the editors for the column, or without the photojournalists and editors to help you put a TV show together, we're nothing without the teammates we have. And without our teammates at NBC, I wouldn't have been able to get through that stretch. But it was memorable for sure, and one thing I'll never forget.
Ooh.
And Mike, I bump into you regularly down at Augusta every spring.
Yes.
I was wondering, for me, all the things I've gotten to do, I've been lucky as well in my assignments over the course of my career. The Masters is like the most, it's unique in that you're the same place every time, and everything's incredibly familiar, and they take such good care of you. For me, it's such a treat every spring. Where does the Masters rank among the cool things you get to do?
I will tell you the answer, and then I'll tell you a story, Jim. That's what podcasts are for,
yes.
right? It's right up there. Right? How can it not be? How can it not be anything but near the top of what you get to do if you get to go back there, even if you go there once, right? Like you said, Jim, do we get treated better anywhere as members of the media at any sporting event? Not even close,
nope.
Right? The accommodations are great. They built a press building 3-4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago now. And I said, every sporting event should just have like fiber feeds back to that press building, and we should all cover it from that building, because it's just the most amazing place to work. And it's one week a year, right? They treat you so well. And the place is just like you walk in and it's someplace special. And even if you don't know golf, it's special. So your question was, it has to rank up there. Does it rank up there? So I remember, Jim, I'm doing an NBA game at ESPN. This is probably early 2000s, mid 2000s, after we have the NBA package. And it's a West Coast game, and we're coming up on the Masters, right? And it's on ESPN in a few weeks. And so I'm there, Portland, third quarter, innocuous free throws, whatever. And I say, oh, just a couple of weeks away, Masters, can't wait to be there. No better place in sports. Look forward to being there. And then I hear from some friends at the NBA that, yeah, no better place to be in sports. You're in the middle of an NBA game, right? Like, how are you telling people that you'd rather be someplace else? And it was a little bit of a soft tweak, right?
Right.
But I took it as a reminder. And you hear this line with your kids, and for those of us who have kids and their phones, and they're always on your phone, and be where your feet are, right? Mm-hmm. And I've learned to try and approach making every place that I am my favorite place at that time. If you're blessed to have multiple kids or multiple animals, you know that you love them all the same in different ways. And I try to take that approach with the events. So yeah, do I love Augusta? Absolutely. But ask me on the first Saturday in May when those 20 horses come around the first turn and we're sitting there with the twin spires behind us and the horses coming at us at the Derby. That's pretty darn special. Every Sunday night for that football game when Carrie Underwood's song is playing before we get to come on the air. I'm very lucky, as we all are, to be in a lot of special places. And instead of ranking them, I've just tried to enjoy them as I've gotten older here doing this. And it was a good lesson. But yeah, Augusta, if you really make me answer the question, it's as close to the top as you can get.
Well, I'm going to piggyback off that, Mike, because I was just at an event last night and we were talking to men and women alike, and some of them knew that you were coming on this podcast. And I have to tell you, so a friend of mine said, you have to tell Mike Tirico that, first of all, I love him. Second of all, how he handled the Taylor Swift game, that's what she called it, is amazing. She said, because I am a Swiftie and a football fan, and you walked both sides of that perfectly. Like, you gave the Swifties, like you said, be where your feet are. Well, you had one foot in Swiftie land and the other one in football land, and everyone loves you. Like, you gained so many more fans that night. How was that for you to handle?
That was an experience, Dawn, because you just didn't know, right? And my daughter is college age, so she gets it, but she's not like super out of control Swiftie, right? But I've got enough people in my circle who've got kids who are Swifties that you knew the impact of the tour. I had seen the documentary. She's amazing. She's such an amazing artist and talent and all that. And her following is extraordinary. Mm-hmm. So when we saw the week before that there was a bump in the audience for a blowout game against the Bears, in part because Taylor Swift was at the stadium, we couldn't ignore it. Right. So we tried to approach it, and here's what I suggested to our production group and our producer, Rob Hyland, who's awesome. He helped us run with this mantra during the week. We average an amazing 20 million viewers a week for Sunday Night Football. So we got 20 million regular guests. Let's make them. Let's take care of them. That's my priority, right? Mm-hmm. That's our priority. But if we got a couple million guests who are coming to sample, you don't turn your back on. You got to welcome them.
Right.
So,
right.
Our production team, which thinks so clearly, and they had their fun. We had Carson Daly from the Today Show and The Voice to do all the Taylor Swift song references. Right. Mm-hmm. We knocked out like 12 right in the tease for the game. And then Chris and I pretty much didn't touch it during the game, other than say hi to the Swifties at the start of the game, show her a couple of times during the game. And there were people who were critical of it, and they're hardcore football fans. I go back and challenge them, like, what'd you miss out on? You got all the XO stuff. You got more on Zach Wilson than you've ever gotten out of a broadcast. We did as much as we could, but you want to acknowledge that audience because this is a business. And your job is to document the game, inform the fans, and entertain them. Sports is entertainment. As much as we love it, and we love our teams, and we love our Vikings, and we love the Twins on a playoff run, and let's go T-Wolves, and On the Wild, and all that stuff, this is still entertainment. People have the option to go watch something on Netflix if they're not watching the game. So let's keep them entertained. If you have new people in the house, do it. Don't dumb the game down because there are a couple of million people who might be watching just to see Taylor Swift. So try to find that balance. Hopefully we did. We tried our best, but I'll tell you, I gained an appreciation for why her following is so strong, and the fact that I could, quietly in a couple of spots dump a few Taylor Swift lyrics in there. I didn't want to do the song titles because
Right.
that was done already, right?
Right.
So
Right.
my best friend doing this, Ian Eagle, I ain't got it all started a couple of weeks before that. So I'm like, okay, how do we do it? So I just pulled. I listened to. I truly downloaded the Apple Music Taylor Swift Essentials, and I listened to Taylor Swift music for about 3 days and pulled like 4 or 5 lyrics. And I said, if there's a spot, I'm going to use it here. And I ended up using a couple of them as we went through. And a few people got it, and those who didn't weren't offended. They didn't even know that I dropped them. So I'm like, okay, we kind of had some fun there. But that's the power of the NFL. And as you guys know, covering the league, you're gonna make people happy and unhappy. So we tried our best, and it was a heck of an experience. I'm just bummed I didn't get to meet her, to be honest with you.
Oh, I bet you she's bummed she hasn't met you either, because when she finds
Yeah,
out
right.
all these Easter eggs that you dropped, I mean, let me tell you, my friend that was asking about this, she thought a producer handed you those. So the fact that you downloaded the music and listened to it and wove in those lyrics, she's going to be thrilled. And we're not just talking about this is a Swiftie that kind of likes football. My friend is a football fanatic, works in the business, knows her sports, and loves Swift. So you did it expertly. So I just have to give you kudos.
Thank you for that. And you know what, Dawn? Like my wife played basketball in college. Our daughter played golf and basketball and soccer in high school. Our daughter's a huge sports fan. Like she'll talk to me about games, about watching games on TV and all that stuff. The reality is, there are so many women who not just watch sports, who love sports, live for it, that the old thinking and mentality has changed and adjusted. I'm just glad I'm in a house where the women of the Tirico house are as big sports fans as the guys are. Right. So it kind of helps along. So I'm not surprised to hear that. And that we were thinking about that too, that they're not two separate independent groups. Right. Swifties, there may be some sports fans and vice versa. So let's try to serve them all.
Okay, so I have to ask you before I get into the story about how we met, at least from my point of view. I have to ask you about the feedback you've got from your asterisk comment. How has that been?
You mean how I'm angry? Everybody's angry at me in Detroit. Yeah. So
yes.
It was an interesting lesson. So to go back, it's week 1. It's Kansas City and Detroit, and the Lions are going to win the game. And I went back over on the front end of this and point out the 2 games recently where the championship banner team, the home team, lost at home. It's very rare. And point out that the Lions are going to win this game, but there's no Chris Jones and Travis Kelce, who are the second and third best players on the Chiefs. Nobody's going to make that argument. So I didn't want to say, and the point I had made just before was the Chiefs went to New England and won, and that started the Chiefs on this run of 4 or 5 years. That was their first big win in that stretch. So I was just trying to put that marker out there and say, I don't know if this equals that because those guys aren't here. Mm-hmm. And I use the word asterisk, and if I could go back, I would take that one word back. But I wouldn't take and that's fine. Look, you say about 10,000 words in a live broadcast. About 9,980 of them are unscripted, so I have no problem making a mistake and saying I was wrong. We all do this long enough. But you're out there without a script. You're out there going for 3.5 hours. If you do everything perfect, that's a win. But you don't win every game, right?
Exactly.
So that's a mistake I made. I would take that word back, no doubt about it. I was wrong for saying that word. But what I would say was the clip that ended up going viral stopped after I say, this has an asterisk, but, and then the clip was cut off, and nobody ever bothered to listen to the rest of it, except for a few people in Detroit when they went to write about it. And then they wrote, what I say after the but is, as soon as the clip gets cut off, but if you saw this team in Green Bay the last week of the season last year, and if you saw them tonight, you know these Lions are for real and have arrived. Mm-hmm. And that was the whole point of the sentence. Mm-hmm. So it's just a reminder for me as a journalist. It reminds me now to make sure that I properly contextualize what people say, because being taken out of context sometimes is very unfair. Doesn't mean I wasn't wrong in not using the power of every word, because I know every word's powerful. But I would say that the sentiment of the entire statement was to say, hey, guys, the Lions did what Buffalo did last year and the Chiefs did 5 years ago. And this team is on a par with those other teams, and they can be as good as anyone in the NFC. That was the whole point of the statement. People took the middle of it and made it that, oh, no, hey, you're wrong for this, you're wrong for that. So it's just a good reminder of the power of every word that we have on TV. And
Right.
if you're gonna beat me up over that, I'll take my bruises. That's fine, and we'll come back to fight another day.
Well, I think it's just exacerbated too in the world we live in of like the 10 to 15 second soundbite that you can throw on social media, right? So it's always great to end it before your butt. You know, they're not going to say, oh, let's say, oh, that's 30 more seconds. Forget it. We're just going to take the sensationalized portion. So,
well, social media, and you both live in the media world, so you both understand it. Dawn, you have bosses, you have sports director, news director, general manager, you have bosses at your station.
mm-hmm.
Jim, you have editors, and all the way up the food chain there. I have bosses. We all have gatekeepers. We have people who are there to make sure that you are not taking things out of context to sensationalize them, or that you hear about it if you do.
Mm-hmm.
Social media does not have gatekeepers, which is part of the glory of social media, that everybody has a voice, but the responsibility factor has decreased significantly for putting a message out. And where that has gone south, at least in my opinion, I don't know where you guys are, this is your profession as well, I think that our profession in general has tried to slide towards that a little bit because of the popularity of social media. And I don't think the journalism product is as good today as it was before social media, because people are trying to keep up with what's popular. And that's long-term troubling for me, because you don't know what a trusted source is anymore.
Right.
And you feel like it's harder to be a trusted source because of the lack of respect or the lack of faith that people have in media since social media has really become so prominent.
Truth on that. So I want to tell the story about how we met. And Jim,
Okay.
You'll probably laugh because a lot of people just assume it's from sports, right? It's like, oh, you're at an event or you're covering something. And so I'm going to throw this all the way back, and I'm not going to say the year, because, I'm still 28. But I will say the old Boston Garden was still there. So I was at the Fours restaurant across the street from the Boston Garden, and I was there with some friends, and I'm having lunch, and I saw that you were sitting at a table with now my dear friend who dearly departed, Bob Newmeyer. And you were sitting with Numi, and I interned for Numi. And so, and I saw over there, I was like, oh, look, they're sitting over there. Well, I thought you were just going to the restroom. And so he's walking by. And so here's Mike Tirico, who stops at my table. And you introduce yourself to me. And so I immediately thought you were put up to do this by Numi, right?
By Numi?
Yeah. And you're like, hi, Don, I want to introduce myself. I'm Mike Tirico. And I'm like, well, yeah. Like, okay. I was very polite. Like, yes, nice to meet you. I know who you are. And you're like, well, I just want to tell you, you said, my wife and I, we love your work. We watch you every morning, because I was doing sports desk for Nesson at the time. And it's in all of New England, right? And you lived in Connecticut at the time.
15 minutes of sports desk every morning.
Amen.
Right?
And it repeated for 6 hours. So you got sick of that same story, right? Over and over again. Gosh.
Yes.
And so you came over, and so I literally thought you were lying. So I said, come on, Numi put you up to it. And the look on your face, you're like, no. Like, what?
No.
I go, Numi, he put you up, like, you're punking me, right? And you're like, what? And he goes, oh,
no.
you know Numi? I go, I know Numi. And you're like, no, like, how do you know Numi? And I go, well, I interned for Numi. He's like, no, seriously? I came over here on my own. And so.
That's right.
And then I guess you and Numi were there for a Syracuse thing at the Garden, right? I think
we were. That's exactly right.
So to this day, and Numi for the longest time,
that's so great.
That I didn't even think of that. Don, that would have been something I would do, but no, he legitly stopped on his own. I thought he was going to the men's room. And then you gave me a line on my first agent. I remember I'd ask you, like, okay, so what do you do? Because I was just fresh in the business, but I just remember that to this day. People are like, really? Like, that's how you met him? I'm like,
great.
Yeah, I totally thought he was like BSing me.
That's so great.
The look on your face
Bob,
is like, what?
Because the whole Minnesota nice thing. People in Minnesota, if they got to know Bob Newmeyer, would have loved Numi, right? I mean,
Oh.
and maybe some folks who followed horse racing knew Numi, or maybe some of the hockey stuff he did. But what a great guy, and I think Jim, you know this, Don, you know this. The fun of this for so many of us is that we are covering sports. It is a job, but we do get to go to sporting events and we get to meet so many cool people from so many different cities and places. And we're fans. Like, we're not just fans of watching good sports. We're fans of other people who do the job really well. Right.
Yes.
So, when I'd come to Minnesota, I'd see Rosen on TV. I'm like, man, this guy is a legend. Okay. Now I understand why I knew about him from when I was doing local TV back in my days in Syracuse. And we all knew about, hey, Rosen's the guy in Minneapolis, or Bob Lobel was the guy in Boston. And that's the joy of this. And it's, man, it's fun what are we? We're the conduits for the fans to their teams. And sometimes it's good news, sometimes it's bad news, sometimes you like the way we do it, sometimes you like the way somebody else does it. But I think most of us take the job really seriously and the responsibility to be that connection for the fans. I heard it best explained when one of our current leaders at NBC was explaining the industry to an athlete who was coming off the field and coming into the sports media business, and said, now you work for the fan. You don't work. Of course, you work for NBC, right? But you now work for the fan. You're there to tell them what you can tell them, explain to them what you can. I never really thought of it that way, but it's a great way to think about what we do, and we love doing it. And you build a trust, and that's why the two of you have been revered and trusted in the Twin Cities for a few years. I'll keep the number of years out, Dawn, but for a few years, and that's what I think wakes us up every day to try to do the right thing for the fans on a regular basis.
Well, amen to that. That's a perfect way to end this. Mike, first of all, I adore you as a friend. We've known each other forever,
Same here, pal.
But I respect you so much as a broadcaster. I remember looking once in NBC, they threw you into hockey, and you were seamless. It was like, I know that you probably got the call because someone was sick, and then you were in there, and it was just elegant. And I don't even know if that's a proper word, but whenever you speak, you're just elegant regardless of the sport. So as a person,
can I tell you a 30-second story?
Oh, I would love
quick
that.
story, quick story.
For sure.
I started doing hockey because I kind of lost a bet. We're watching. We're with our boss Sam Flood, and I'm with Eddie Olczyk, because Eddie, as you know, covers hockey and horse racing. Yeah, he's the best. Ponies and pucks. And we are getting ready to cover the Preakness. We're in Baltimore, and the playoffs are going on. So we go out for dinner, and we're watching a game. And I'm asking Edzo, I'm like, Edzo, why doesn't he put the number 2 power play out there first? Like the number 1, So I was really into the series we were watching. And so our boss says to me, he goes, and I was at NBC for a couple of years, like, you think you could do hockey? And I'm like, yeah, I can do hockey. Yeah, sure I can. I wasn't going to back down to a challenge.
Right.
So I was like, okay, great. And then like 5 months later, he calls me, said, hey, I have you and Edzo on 4 games. Edzo's done this forever. He's got your back. We'll start you with the Red Wings since you live in Detroit. Do Red Wings, Blackhawks. We got you on like 4 games during the year. And I'm like, oh, like he thought I was serious when we were sitting there watching the game. Okay. And I got to work. I'd never done a hockey game, and I got to work on, okay, don't embarrass yourself. And I had the most fun doing it. And I have such respect for the people who call hockey, because that if you ask me, that's the hardest sport to call play-by-play. And I have such respect for the people who do it. So I kind of wouldn't back down from a bet at dinner, and got to do a bunch of hockey games. So every time somebody mentions that and they say that I didn't suck, I take it as a huge compliment. So thank you.
Well, Johnny Most did it once, right? He was thrown in on radio, and he was like, the puck goes over to that guy and over to the other guy. Like, it's so hard. So, no, you were effortless, and it was fantastic.
That's nice of you.
All right. Mike Tirico, just a joy on the airwaves and in person. If you ever have a chance to meet him, you'll be adding to your life. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Don, thanks, Jim. I hope we get to see you guys. Hope the Vikings survive this season and we get our games in Minneapolis. I was looking forward to that. But we'll catch up soon. And thanks for having me. Both of you keep up the great work.
Same to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.